Day 49 started at 2 a.m. by driving my truck backwards till the left crossroad. Then I turned to the right in order to face the next locations to loot. Before moving forward, I had to leave my car and fight with a new spawn that reached my location soon after, followed by another one that came from the southwest. Later, I drove a few meters forward and had to stop to deal with a pedestrian on the right side of the road. After that, near the entrance in the first highway property, I found the first group of the horde I was fighting yesterday. The first two was easy to kill, but then I had to fight 3 at the same time, and after messing up my positioning, I had to retreat. When I noticed a fourth joining the pursuit, I decided to start using my hatchet and fight them normally. After killing 2 of them, I pushed to the ground the other 2 and finished them before fighting a newcomer. Then I had a moment to loot a kitchen knife from one of the new corpses. Going back to my truck, I noticed a large group surrounding it, and they started to chase me. The first was fast, and despite being stubborn, he died before the second was able to help him. For the third, I had to retreat a little to have enough time to finish him before fighting the fourth. The last 2 were slow, and this allowed to deal with them separately by triggering the chase animation to make them run faster toward their death. At this point, I had some time to loot the corpses for some useful items. Beside the usual stuff, I also decided to collect the Spiffo suit tail. It didn't have any utility, I just want to use it on a scarecrow in the future to have a funny looking one. After that, I had to fight another 3 Zeds standing between me and my truck. While going in front of it, I found the rest of the horde, made of 4 extra enemies, I killed without any issues. Later I reached the crossroad, and while leaving the car I noticed that I was surrounded. Initially I tried to run toward the closest one and deal with them fast, but after the first kill the rest were too close to each other's. This is why I had to resort to use my hatchet and fight the horde regularly, while strafing backward toward the previous highway property. It was taking a lot of hits to drop all of them, and this resulted in falling out of breath near the end of the fight. To restore my strength, I decided to rest in the closest vehicle while eating some junk food. 10 minutes later, a Zed was at the door. This forced me to switch seats in order to get out safely and deal with the troublemaker. After taking his watch, I noticed more enemies incoming from the northwest. One by one, I dealt with all 5 of them easily. This fight led me toward the blue truck in the next property parking. Loot-wise, it was empty, and I tried to search the ground for its key soon after. I didn't find it and instead had to fight a Zed that tried to sneak on me. Checking the vehicle conditions allowed me to find out that they were decent. After closing the hood, I noticed that the noise I was making attracted another group of enemies. They were fighting in groups of 2, but this didn't help them to win against me. After taking a watch from the second group, I decided to mark the just inspected vehicle in the map, so I would remember to extract it later. At this point was time to clear the highway properties. Crossing the road allowed me to find the first victim near the bench. After dropping the garbage bag I found in the bin to the ground, a second victim decided to join the graveyard. Then in the bag I found a pool cue I can use as a spare weapon, while the other 2 items were some junk I moved in the bin before collecting the bag. At this point it was time to check the supermarket to the north. This resulted in making 2 Zeds climb out through a window and find their heads smashed to smithereens. After that, I didn't have time to start looting, that another group emerged from the south. One by one I killed 6 of them before breaking my hammer. Switching to the lead pipe, I was able to deal with another 3 before I was surrounded and had to retreat. To save energy and deal with the next 10 safely, I went inside the supermarket and staying behind the window dealt with them one by one without any major issues. After looting the new corpses for some useful stuff, I also decided to take this opportunity to start searching the shelves as well. This allowed me to find some soap in the first, a cola can in the second, and some junk food in the third. After that, someone started banging on the storage door, and I opened it to deal with the troublemaker. Later in the shelves behind the counter, I found a plastic bag in the first, some matches and 2 lighters in the second, another lighter, a cigarette pack and a candle in the third. while in the last shelf with useful items I found 2 plastic bags. Moving in the storage room in the wall metal shelf, I found 2 bags of chips. While from the first crate I obtained some sweets and a Diet Cola. The last crate also had 2 candy, plus a dehydrated meat stick. At this point, it was time to check the rest of the shelves. From the first I got myself an orange soda. The second had a ginger ale, a Diet and Classic Cola, followed by a bubblegum soda in the third, a lime soda and a cola from the fourth, 2 water bottles from the fifth, a ginger ale from the sixth and a lime soda bottle from the seventh, a snick snack, a licorice and a gum from the 8th, a steel wool and a cleaning liquid in the 9th, a bottle of water and 4 different soda cans in the 10th, a ginger ale bottle in the 11th and an orange soda bottle in the 12th, followed by a cartoon of grape juice in the 13th and 4 water bottles in the 14th. Then I found some alcohol wipes in the 15th and a Diet Cola in the 16th. While from the 17th I got myself a water bottle, followed by 2 cans and 1 bottle of soda. Moving to the 18th, I found a sterilized water and a ginger ale. An orange soda bottle, Diet and Classical Cola were to be found in the 19th shelf. A ginger ale and 2 extra cola cans were in the 20th, followed by some Hi-His in the 21st and more soda in the 22nd. Finally, I was done looting this place, and it was time to reach my vehicle and deposit everything in its trunk. On my way there, I drank a whole bottle of cola to fix my hunger issue. While after depositing the new loot, I took this opportunity to equip a club hammer on the free slot on my belt. After that, I noticed some Zeds on the other side of the fence to the north, and approaching them, I was able to deal with 2 of them easily. One even had a steak knife for me to loot. Later, a new Zed started to approach me from the north, and I reached the other side of the fence using the hole in it. Then after dealing with the first Zed, more came from the south, and after pushing away one of them, I had to reach the other side of the fence. Avoiding triggering the grab attack, I was able easily to take another life. Seconds later, I had to retreat and climb again over the fence. This allowed me to kill the next 3 before I was surrounded. Climbing back toward the road, I messed up my attacks and was pushed away. It was too risky to keep using this tactic. This is why I switched to the hatchet. Strafing backwards, I defeated the next 2, and switching back to the hammer, I dealt with the last 2. At this point, I decided to check the second property of the highway. On my way there, I killed just 1 Zed before starting looting the corpses. Beside the usual stuff, I also collected a Spiffo suit head so I could add it to my future mannequin collection. Soon after, more started to reach me from all directions. Killing the first 3 allowed me to find a steak knife to loot. While as soon as I signed the supermarket as looted in the map, I had to address a new enemy that was banging on the Spiffo's restaurant window. Next, I accessed the building through the main entrance. Once inside, I heard someone banging on a bathroom door and I opened it for him in order to deal with the troublemaker. Then, after looting a cockroach from one of the garbage bins, I was ambushed by a Zed that came inside through the broken back door. Once he was dead, I noticed more incoming from the same direction. To avoid being cornered, I decided to leave the building for now and position myself near one of the external windows. This was a good choice considering that soon after the place was swarmed, and one by one I was able to deal with 6 Zeds that decided to climb through the windows. Later, I had to open the left entrance door to face 1 Zed that was trying to break it, and another one that came from the southwest. One of them had a luxurious digital watch I equipped immediately. Then I opened the other door and faced the 2 that were banging on it. As soon as I was done, a bonus Zed decided to join the graveyard. Time to loot a watch, and I had to address 2 new threats incoming from the west. Zooming out allowed me to notice that there are more enemies surrounding the place. One by one I started to deal with them, but after 5 kills I felt out of breath. Plus I noticed that I was attracting the horde near the adjacent gas station. But to my surprise, I had to fight only 3 members of that group. Probably the fog helped to not draw to myself unwanted attention. I took this opportunity to check the red truck in the parking. This allowed me to find its key in the glove box with a magazine and a cigarette pack. I didn't have time to insert the key in the ignition that I had to leave the vehicle and fight a few Zeds incoming from different directions. Despite out of breath, I was able to deal with all 5 without breaking a sweat. After that, it was a good idea to get inside the restaurant and sitting on a chair recover my breath, to be in shape to keep fighting. But I didn't have enough time to lose the moodle, that I had to get up and fight another group of 2. Later, I tried to rest in another chair but again had to stop, to fight another intruder. Then finally, I had time to rest enough to restore my breath, and after that I had to fight a new group incoming from the east. I easily dealt with the first 2 that climbed through the window, and had to fight regularly the other 2. Checking the corpses for some loot, I was able to find a kitchen knife in perfect condition. Then finally the surroundings were clear enough to allow me to reach the red truck and insert the key in the ignition. But soon after I was disappointed to find out that there was no gas and no battery charge left in it. Leaving the vehicle, I had to kill a Zed that were slowly approaching my location, and after that I obtained an empty gas can from the trunk of the red vehicle. At this point I went inside the car, so I could safely open the map and sign the restaurant as looted and the truck location to remember, to recover it later. I also added an extra vehicle icon where I noticed a white car. My surroundings were somewhat clear beside the small highway group that I disposed of quickly. After collecting a fillet knife from one of the just killed Zeds, I went back toward my truck. On my way there, I noticed that I was losing weight. To fix the issue, I had to eat 1 bag of chips plus another one to change it to gain instead. Later, I had to kill a zombie near my vehicle and finally had some time to unload my new loot inside its trunk. As soon as I was done, a new victim reached my location from the East Forest. After dealing with him, I moved to the southern Crossroad and started clearing the surroundings. I faced the first 3 in the middle of the road. Then I went to the fence to fight the next group of 3. After killing the first, I managed to miss the timing on the second, and he was able to push me to the ground. I wasn't able to get on my feet in time before the third was able to bite me. My clothes layers were able to save me from any injury, and after a little bit of struggle, I taught both of them a lesson to keep their hands in their pockets. Checking my clothes, I noticed that the military jacket lost some conditions, and there was a new hole in it. Seconds after, 2 new enemies climbed over the fence and found their heads smashed to pieces. One of them even had a kitchen knife for me to loot. Another 2 came from the east, and using the fence, I easily dealt with both of them. The last one had a steak knife stuck in his back. At this point, I had a moment to check all of the corpses along the fence for some good loot. Beside the usual, I also found a cowboy hat that I equipped, considering I lost my other hat while falling yesterday. Then it was time to check the nearby house. But before that, I had to face 2 slow enemies incoming from the southeast. While checking them for some loot, I found a key ring on the ground, and to my delight within, I found a taxi key. After dealing with 2 extra Zeds that came from the west and another one from the south, it was time to check the car I just found the keys for. I was pleased to find out that it had both battery charge and almost a full fuel tank. Before claiming my price, I had to leave the car and go back to the fence in order to deal with another 2 troublemakers. One of them even had a scrap metal sword stuck in his back. Back to the taxi, loot-wise it had only a pair of earbuds and some alcohol wipes in the glove box. While in the trunk I found a wrench, a sack and a duct tape. The door noise attracted a new group to my location. Falling back, I was able to kill the first using the fence, while for the next 2, I had to spend some energy to push them to the ground before smashing their heads. While using again the fence, I was able to kill the last 2 of this group. After that, I checked my surroundings and noticed a new horde to the southeast. The first chased me immediately and killing him, forced 2 extra to join the fight. The rest of the group was sleeping and I had to get really close to force one of them to react to my presence. Once he was dead, I got even closer to force the second to acknowledge my existence. Fighting this one finally forced the rest of the horde to fight me, and this led to another 3 joining the corpses pile. At this point, it was late and I needed a good place to sleep in, This is why I reached the property to the north and dealt with its owner in the middle of the driveway. Going inside the house, I heard someone incoming from the northwest, and waiting near the broken window allowed me to kill the intruder. Then it was time to loot the house, starting from a comic book and a cooking VHS from the first bookshelf, followed by an entertainment CD and book from the second. On the ground in front of the bookshelf, I found another comic book and a magazine I already read. Moving to the kitchen, I found 2 yeast and a bouillon cube in the first cupboard, followed by a baking tray in the second. To finish the first floor, I dismantled the television in the living room. Moving to the bathroom, I found a plunger and 2 electronic devices I also dismantled. As soon as I reached the bedroom, I noticed a pillow on the ground, picked it up, and placed it on a nearby bed. Finally, it was time to sleep through the night, with the maximum of the comfort this house can offer.